So here we are then for the first 2 days Scottish Pre-65 trial. As usual, the start is at Kinlochleven, but on the Friday, the first of the 2 days, the start is at the Aluminium Works and here in the overflow car park where Len Hutty is giving us advice on chain tensioning. And Saturday we'll return to Schoolhouse, the normal place where everybody gathers. Something else that's different, it's a 10 o'clock start, give the riders more time to get round the hills. 2 completely separate courses. Day 1 goes down mostly the Mamore Road. Day 2 follows the more traditional route, including Lochiel Path and Pipeline. And here we are on the Mamore Road. Norman Pickles there comes to inspect the early sections. Riders haven't yet arrived, but the marshals are going well down the Mamore Road. Quite a few miles the trial will stretch down here. Beautiful weather conditions, and we'll be picking up the action shortly when number 1, John Moffat, will arrive on his 350 Matchless. And here is John going through the section they called Am Bodak. 2 subs here with a very nasty looking rock slab there, but John just chugs his way up there, so it shouldn't cause the difficulty that it was first envisaged when people were having a look at it. Second rider that we're going to see is number 8, Mike Naish. Mike, who for the past few years has organised the Farley Pre-65 trial that precludes the Farley Grand Prix Scramble. Mike on a C15. Clive Dobson looking a little bit wary of that particular rock. Dobson will be riding his Norton Rigid today. He's also riding in the Scottish, but he's going to swap his mount for a TY 250 Yamaha. As we see number 9, H. Van Marwish on a 350 AJ, rider who's come over from Holland. Malcolm Cocking looking at the line. Carl Bancroft on the left there, also looking a little bit wary of that slab. Site number 13, Jay Ward on a 350 VSA. Nicely through into the second sub. Carl Bancroft on his 350 pre-unit construction Royal Enfield. Rides quite a bit around the Midland Centre from where he hails. Eric Kitchen in the background and John Dickinson getting all the photographs. Clive Tomkinson on the 250 Greaves. Tompkinson, who rode the 6 day a few years ago. And the man with the most unusual crash helmet in the trial, Donnie Logan on his 500 Enfield. Enfield proving a little bit of a handful. It's Wainwright on a Cub. Apologies where we haven't got the Christian names, but the entry list unfortunately didn't show them. Number 6, S. Huxley on a Greaves. 250, obviously. Tidy ride up there. Quite a few spectators arriving. Wasn't easy for them. It's Graham Sanderson. It's quite a long walk up if you parked at the bottom of Mamore, but the lodge apparently opened the car park up at 50 pence a head. Never want to miss an opportunity, but if you parked up there, you at least only got a couple of mile walk to get to the sections. 41 is A. Winter coming to grief. .35, D. Mitchell. And Jay Green on a 350 matchless. Regular competitor up here in Scotland. Should be R. Baker on a 350 Triumph twin. Number of twins in the event today. And that one proving a little bit of a handful. Having his number obscured there, so sorry we can't give you a name check. Hi McCallion. Trevor Armstrong. Punch cards doing their best to obscure some of the numbers. But that's number 15, Roger George. It's on a 500 AJS. This is Clive Dobson. After these sections here, the riders go down about 3 miles of the Mamor Road to Stub Koya Erga, where there is 3 subs awaiting them. Then on to Schliebach, if that's the right pronunciation, which we hope it is. And Stub Ban, where there's a further 2 subs. Going out in circular trip today. They will come back and do some sections opposite this particular group. Quite a lot later on in the day, obviously. This is Malcolm Cocking. .350 Triumph mounted. Tidy looking BSA belonging to G. Jackson from Scarborough. It's A. Bibby on his 250 Greaves. H. Hazek from France. And Frank McMullen, another rider who seems to be fortunate in the ballot most years up in Scotland. Corner causing 1 or 2 problems. Argiv, number 25. And this is George Greenland. Greenland, who's done most motorcycle sport disciplines and is one of the main leading lights behind the Western Beach Race these days. We'll swap over and see Graham Archer, one of the later numbers, going through a couple of the subs that were specially put in for spectators down at the bottom of Lochiel Path. Rather nice looking machine. 158 M. Adams on a 500 aerial. Triumph Twin of S. Chapman. Seems to have picked up Arch again here. He's been rather unlucky in these last few rides in Scotland. He's hoping to make the finish this year. Wish him well with that. There's 152, Chris Bradley. And 166, Bill Buskell on his 150 Francis Barnett. Another well-known rider, Maurice Brayford. As we swap back over to Am Bodak, in time to see Stig Carlson ride very neatly through the 2 subs.
I'll tell you in a minute.
T. Shrevers. And B. Adams. We'll move on down the track. And here we are then at Stob Koya Erga for 3 sections. Sun's gone in at this point and the temperature has definitely dropped a couple of degrees, but it's still pretty comfortable. There's number 78, R. Anderson on his cub goes through. G Shorter, VSA mounted. Can't quite pick out that competitor's number. Keeps waving it at us tantalisingly, but then turning back before I can spot who he is. One we can see, number 88, K. Oates, on a 350 Enfield. Followed by R. Crinson on a 500 aerial. Walter Dalton drops into the stream bed. Dalton, who's approaching 70 years of age, but still riding pretty well. Joel Caroy on his 500 aerial, Caroy from France, who had a superb couple of days over here in Scotland. Followed by D. Jones on a nice looking 500 aerial. Bikes really seem nicely turned out this year. Remember a number of years ago, one of the journalists in one of the papers criticised the standard of preparation of machines, but I'm sure that certainly isn't the case these days. That's Roy Endicap on his 250 dot. D. Anderson, C15. Happy to get through that sub for a 3. Julian Wigg, a rider who needs no introduction on the pre-65 scene. All's on an immaculately turned out bike. As Headley Cockshot comes through. It'll be a successful pre-65 event for Headley. Duncan Mitchell, who probably sees father Peter through shortly. You can see by that flick turn, he rides modern stuff as well. Another rider who's doing the 6 days, there's quite a few, what with Clive Dobson, the Mitchells, and of course Dave Thorpe. the day for a pleasant ride down the Mamore. And here is Peter Mitchell. One of two lady competitors, Joan Westbrook. I think somebody's got some unsuppressed spark plug there, where it's interfering with the camera. Could that be our culprit, number 67? Jay Winthrop. D. Anderson. Aha, will go better if the petrol's turned on. This is the second of Stubcoy-Ruger's sections. Cockshot needing a dab there. Quickly gets it all back under control. Another quite respectable ride from Dalton. Joel Carroy. Roy Enticap once again. Section taking quite a few dabs, but the front wheel just out there, so he's okay. A. Smith. Program's got him down as a 350 matchless, but that certainly wasn't one. Kay Sutton on a 500 aerial. Riders still arriving. We're about halfway through the entry here. M. Wiley of the Royal Enfield, 350cc again. Julian Wigg. We're having a few problems on this section. G. Mitchell. Slightly unusual line there, outside the marker cards. 56 is S. Allen on a 250 VSA. Indulging in some hefty leg work. Joan Westbrook, the back wheel's just dropped into one of them holes and it's not going to come out of there. But Joan's still retaining a sense of humour. Peter Mitchell at full charge. That looks like one rear chain wrapped round the sprocket. M. Holloway on a 350 matchless. Bike that's obviously a bit of a handful round here. I think I've said that once or twice already. A7 is P. Baddesley. And J. Palmer on a 250 cotton. Let's keep it going, it'll just be a 3. That's it. Was C. Nutter, and this is number 95, Graham Lampkin. That's all right, the spindle's out. First concern, not to worry about whether the bike or yourself is okay, but is that front wheel spindle past the ends guard? Quite a queue developing on the top section. There's Pete Remington. Gets through on his dot. Dave Spurgeon. At least the observer's young enough to keep running after everybody as they go through and hit them with the punch card. Davy McBride on a 250 Greaves. McBride from Bangor. This man's a little more local, Jock McKinsky on his 350 Triumph. H. McKinstry, 250 BSA. Mick Grant, who's come awfully close in this event in the past. Should find somewhere else to put these punch cards. That, I'm fairly certain, is one Mick Andrews. Mick, who hadn't seen this machine until the day before, decided not to ride the 250 James, but attack it once again on an aerial. Richard Percival, who does a lot of the Sammy Miller long distance trials. Pretty good rider, but the machine is really going to prove difficult round here. Girder forks, rigid rear end. Dave Thorpe thinks he'll sit this one out and watch a few people through first. One of the riders that he sees through, Chris Denny, Midlands man Denny, but although we only see mud and banks in the Midlands, he seems to go pretty well when you put him on a pre-65 in Scotland. Certainly getting down the numbers now. 161 on the bottom sub here. Cox on a 250 Greaves. Followed up by Phil Barton. The Irwin on a 250 BSA. One of those immaculate Hardy twins. That was Phil. G. Maxwell. And D. Robinson. Then Hutty just passed through the picture. Hutty rode for the first time last year. Was very successful. That's D. Allen on a 250 BSA. And 183. Graham Hardy. Barry Rogers, BSA mounted. Still always expect to see him on a Royal Enfield. This is Hutty. Got his rucksack on his back. I don't know whether he's expecting any problems. I'm sure that machine is superbly prepared. Bill Buskell once again. This rigid Francis Barnett. Roy Varty. Now that's just got to be original. Number 58, A. Johnson. I think he deserves a medal for riding that round this event. And a well-earned 3, but it could be a long weekend. .173, John Kendall, 350 Triumph. Kendall would make a storming ascent of Pipeline the following day. Maurice Brayford is to be out of luck at this particular event. Here we are up at the top sub. Dry, loose rocks. Nothing new for Scotland. As you can see from the number of riders, quite a delay up here. Waiting to go through, 131, H. Randall. Down as riding a cub, but that certainly didn't look much like one to me. Andrew Johnson again on that very original machine. Well, we wouldn't argue with that comment. Graham Hardy. Well, might as well do something to pass the time while you're waiting. T. Kyle, B40 machine. Second of our lady competitors, 127, Jill Driffield, who certainly impressed everybody with her undoubted riding ability. 138, John Gaskill. Mick Grant and Dave Thorpe and Alan Wright watching. Barry Rogers. Decides to sit down and paddle it out. '84, B. Emerson, who's a little bit behind his riding number. Must have run into a few problems perhaps. Followed by 179, B. Edwards. Mick Grant, who'll be giving a talk on Sunday night in Fort William about all his road racing and trials activities. As Phil Hardy gives it the charge once again. The BSA, this time the Bantam of M. Anderson. Doesn't want to go up there though, does it? 162, V. Hume, 250 BSA. A few more subs further down there. Certainly a pleasant place to be on a Friday. R. Thompson, Edinburgh rider. And A. Owens on a Tiger Cub. Three in the first sub and three very quickly in the second. Should I say subs 3 and 4 to be precise. Kevin Chapman. He'll be picking up some well-earned silverware. .186, Len Hutty. This section's catching quite a few riders out. This is Rob Hirons. Walls rides the big aerial. Just parked it up for a minute. Move on until mid-afternoon. Riders arriving here near 3 o'clock. This is the section known as Mamor. Two very short subs. Jock McKinsky stopping to have a word with Rob Edwards. Armed with a camcorder rather than a machine these days. After here there'll just be one sub at Mambrek. But there's still a fair ride back to the aluminium works to complete the day's trialling. Jock talks his bike through. Obviously does as it's told. Was Richard Allen sitting watching on the hillside. He'd come up with the Hardy riders just for the weekend. I was hoping that perhaps next year he might make a reappearance in the 6 days himself. Carl Bancroft, who we saw earlier. Let's park that nice and neat and tidy. Stig Carlson. Taking his time, he gets through for a very nice clean. Graham Watkin, another regular up here on his 350 AJS. Needing a dab as the front end decides to get a little wayward. That concludes our look at the first of the two 1997 Pre-65 days. The field headed by Alan Wright. As we get into Saturday, back at the familiar Schoolhouse starting point. 10 o'clock start again this morning. People there nice and early. Plenty of discussions upon how yesterday went. A little bit of a scrutiny of the results going on as well. So Alan Wright leads the field at the moment, but there's a long way to go yet. So as Eric Bucock signs on for day two with Len Hutty by the side of him. As we mentioned before, Alan Wright has gone round for a single dab on day one. Dave Thorpe is on two. He's joined there by Hedley Cockshott, John Kendall, Len Hutty. So quite a contest as we go into the second day of competition, starting at Schoolhouse. Again, the opening sub only 100 yards away from Schoolhouse. Again, fine, dry conditions. And a simple looking sub that will take quite a few marks once again. No great rush to be the first rider through. Forgot to turn left there. It's got a sharp little bank and it certainly caught quite a few out. Rob Hirons coming through next. D. Allen. M. Anderson. Remember in last year's programme, Trials and Road-Across described it as a nice gentle opener. Didn't quite turn out that way. Bill Buskell doesn't get off to inspect the section. But still gets out for a 3. As you can see, riders starting in reverse order today. So 187 M. Bell would have got us away at 10 o'clock. After here will come Manbreck with 2 sections this morning. Up onto the West Highland Way. There's 6 subs at Lochiel Path, 2 at Lochiel Moor, 12 sections over at Blackwater before riders return to Pipeline for 3 subs, and the final 2 sections of the day will be completed at Aluminium Works. They were brought in a couple of years ago. H. Eady. A round of applause for a clean. P. Edwards. V. Hume. Oh, it's Eric Bucock, number 187. Ex-England Speedway rider. 168. Jay Innes. Graham Hardy. M. Cairns on a B40. M. Adams. Alex Buchanan. N. Smith on a 500 aerial. S. Allen on a 350 Enfield. He was telling me he cleaned Pipeline last year and was hoping to do so again. Taking a dab from Phil Hardy, who rockets up that final embankment. There's 157. Kevin Chapman goes through. Chapman on 6 yesterday. Has a clean ride today though. 174. Jay Morgan. Barry Rogers. To start to rattle through this section, you get an awful lot of riders through fairly quickly. 167. H. Eady again, but that will give people a chance to get across to Lochiel and then probably even across to Pipeline if they are feeling fit. Steve Cox, who went on to Clean Pipeline. Harvey Nixon. B. Irwin. Len Hutty. Still got his rucksack today. R. Coleman. Same section, change of view. 144. That was Colin Dommett. And that must be Peter Gaunt. 153 on the Little James. Jay Greeby. Royal Enfield. Phil Barton, that was. Dave Thorpe. 2 marks lost yesterday. Mick Grant. B. Martin. D. Robinson from Bingley. And Chris Denny. Graham Land Rover Archer. Steady 3. S. Chapman. G. Maxwell. That's a nice little crowd. Sat there in brilliant sunshine. There's Chris Bradley. Puts in a nice ride. I think that was 138, John Gaskell. Thorpe has gone off to get the bike. G. Fellows. There's 132, A. Logue on a Bantam. H. Randall. Mick Grant making no mistakes. P. Remington. I think that's Pete Remington. There's Dave Thorpe. Riding back at his absolute best again in the 97 season. We've seen him in some of the no-stop ACU championships. Nice ride from Richard Percival. And Brian Nicol. I guarantee he'll be pretty well in the results, as will this man, Mick Andrews. Andrews will be travelling home straight after the event as he's riding in a scramble on the following Sunday. So he's got a long way to go, but that's Mick. Mick Driffield is 130. Needing a dab, so can Jill go one better? Definitely, maybe. For those Oasis fans, you'll get the play on words, I hope. If not, it was the name of their last, well, one of their last albums. .119. Tony Frost. C. Buchanan. Edinburgh Rider, 2-stroke mounted. His side stand was down. It was just as well he didn't have to turn right at the end of the stream. 120 is D Long on a 350 Triumph. Got a few cleans now being posted. .107 M Watmore on a 350 matchless. This guy was riding really hard for both days. Certainly caught the interest of the spectators. Now, was he out or not at that point? T. Sewell, followed by Neil Selly. So we're seeing quite a few riders through, but there's a lot still waiting in the paddock to go away. 86 was M. Nicholson. Duncan Mitchell in the background on his BSA. Well, that started easy enough, didn't it? Tommy Leggett there at the schoolhouse gates, pointing everybody in the right direction, but I don't think they're likely to miss section 1. 84 is B. Emerson on his Tiger Cub. P. Hignett is number 80. P. Collins, 83. Everything nice and relaxed as riders wait to get underway. .30 sections for them to tackle today. It'll be interesting to see how quickly some of them march into the Milton for the presentation tonight. .52 was Ian Reevely. Stig Carlson. .41 A Winter. Oh, he got in here. Joan Westbrook. Alan Wright just going through the picture. About the only man in the competition who still wished it was a one-day event. Lochiel Path. Mick Andrews. Will eventually finish on 7 marks lost. Nice easy line from Mick as usual. Good crowd of spectators up here at Lochiel. 6 sections. But in this weather, quite a little hike up the hillside. Over there, Pipeline. That's where we'll be heading for later on in the day. This section being observed by Graham Harrison from the Birmingham Motorcycle Club. Graham, one of the stalwarts of the British Experts trial. And his assistant, Colin Smith. Oh, that looked a little bit tired, didn't it? Still needing just the right amount of aggression to get through this type of section. And a nice grandstand view for the spectators. John Kendall. And Howe. Nice 350 matchless. B. Martin. H. Randall. Looks hard work on a rigid, doesn't it? Harvey Nixon. John Gaskill. Barry Rogers. Just the one precautionary dab. Robert McKee from Newton Ards, which is in Northern Ireland. followed by A. Carmichael from Culloden. Looks like a dab on the right hand side from Brian Nicol there. 122, T. Addison. Triumph sounding nice. J. Morgan. Chris Denny. And Aldershot's M. Watmore. Another very determined effort. Single dab ride. Nice stuff. A. Sturrock on a 350 Enfield. M. Wiley. N. Morris from Denby on an aerial. It's just where you need it to be, going a little bit quicker. Get that back wheel up the step. M. Holloway from Sydenham. Just had enough impetus to carry him over there, but needing a couple of dabs after that. This looks like Jock McKinsky. And a 3 for Jock. Dave Thorpe, Mick Grant, Peter Gaunt. The French connection. Certainly enjoying themselves over here. And here is Peter Gaunt. Very economical style. Thorpe, who'll be starting, what I understand is his 32nd pre-65 Scottish 6 day on Monday. Jill Driffield. Another round of applause for Jill. De Long. Duncan Mitchell. Different line over the rock. Peter goes exactly the same way. There's John Richardson, the West Midlands. Always a Royal Enfield man. Steady effort from B. Johansson from Sweden. As if he had time to put his petrol on as he was going along. It's A. Smith. P. Baddesley. Taking that line over the rock on the left-hand side. Certainly looks quite a good way to go. See where Julian Wigg, no, he doesn't take that option and needs a dab. Headley Cockshot, who went so well yesterday. D. Jones. T. Shrevers. Indulging in some lead work, but still through for a 3. K. Sutton from Newcastle. Very standard looking aerial. B. Emerson. D. Harding. Lots of the riders taking that route through. Joan Westbrook. I think they gave her the benefit of the doubt with that one. Stig Karlsson. Good clean for Stig. Alan Wright, who's lost a few marks this morning and doesn't take long to look at this section. Decides he's going to go over that rock on the right hand side of the picture. No problem, but it's not going to be Alan's day. He'll have a 5 at Pipeline. We'll move up the hillside a little further, right out into the open Lochiel path. Sun's come out much brighter out here, as you can see, as M. Dunn goes through. Still seeing quite a few of the late numbers. Richard Percival. He's going to be unlucky shortly when he gets to Pipeline with the chain breaking, but he'd had a few problems with the chain jumping off during the day, so he thought he must have put something out of alignment somewhere along the line. A nasty rock step there. Holloway gets his matchless nicely over it. And he's quite pleased with that. Alex Buchanan. Well, they gave it plenty, but the ground clearance just wasn't there. Seems to be the line. It's a low. You'd expect the Bantam to be able to pop over that, wouldn't you? Graham Archer, who we seem to have seen once or 4 times so far. That wheels through that ends card again, so you won't be too worried. Harvey Nixon. Dave Thorpe. What a tricky section this. The loop left-hand turn to the exit. Must be warm. Mick Grant's down to his rugby jersey. Couple of big dabs there for Brian Nicol. And we'll go over to Pipeline. 172, D. Allen. Large crowd as usual watching that final slab step and looking to applaud any riders that give it a real good go on the third of these continuous subs. Timothy Edwards. Very early attack on the hill. But this and the other rides would be good enough to get Paul Edwards into the first class awards. He'd finish on 16. Quickly followed by Mick Andrews, who, as we've mentioned before, would finish on 7. That'd be good enough for 3rd place. But Mick, of course, is a previous winner. Likes a challenge, does Mick, and he's certainly been having one this past couple of days. Len Hutty. Rider would finish eventually on 14 marks lost, and again in the first class awards. N. Smith. That's unlucky, only a few yards from the end. Remington. That's about as far as he was going to get. This is a particularly spirited attack that all comes to grief just up in the top sub. We've certainly got that triumph wound up as Mr. Hardy. Next man up is Graham. A little bit slower, but still faster than the majority of the entry will attack this hill. And he's right up there to the end. Not too much of a queue at the moment. Sometimes when the riders get to Pipeline, there can be an awful long wait. That sounds like a chain missing. Bill can retain his sense of humour. Bill Buskell. Just keeps plodding, does that Francis Barnett. Robert McKee. Who, when I spoke to him in the paddock afterwards, said he was hoping to get a little bit further up pipeline than he did last year, and he did succeed. Still has a 5 in the top sub, but it was going pretty well up till then. Just loses drive at that point. M. Holloway. Bike that doesn't want to go in a straight line. And down he goes for a 5 in section 3. Mr. Watmore still fighting that machine. Definitely not pre-65 clothing. But nobody's worried. He's giving everybody a definite value for money this weekend. And the man who always does that, Jock McKinsky. Jock running into a few problems up there on the 3rd sub. This was Richard Percival about to have problems with that rear chain. He managed to get things going again, get through the last 2 subs at Aluminium Works. Make sure he got a finish in. Colin Dommett still looks quite happy. And this man ought to. Clean throughout the whole day. And looking like the winner yet again of the 97 365 Scottish. Dave was being carefully watched by Eric Bucock, who had had a dislocated shoulder put back into joint during the day. Certainly a tough man indeed. He was determined to finish, was Bucock. Copybook ride though from Dave Thorpe there. There's Neil Selly. It was hard luck after a good effort, right up till 10 yards from the end of the section. Battling Archer. Looks as if he's going to make the finish this year. Had machine problems one year and was injured one of the other years and was thinking he'd never see the end of another pre-65, but he's back here and battled his way around. All that and fettled right his BSA at the same time. So anybody getting out those end cards? Good round of applause from the spectators. Mick Grant. Granty going well here, but surprisingly gets a 5 on the last section at Aluminium Works when suffered cramp in his arms. No sign of problems there, but Harvey Nixon now comes through. And parks up on the right hand side. Unfortunate 5 for him.
Well, Dave, looks like you've actually cracked it the first 2-day 365 Scotland. How do you think about the new format?
Oh, okay, I think everybody's enjoyed it. Been good trial, fantastic weather, which helps make it a good trial, as you know. Like. But yeah, I'm very pleased.
Do you think the format's right about having the 2 days?
Well, it seems popular with riders, doesn't it?
You don't think, I was talking to the organisers earlier about whether or not they'd actually consider having 2 separate trials so they could actually take in all those poor devils and never actually get an entry.
Yeah, I'd like to see everybody getting a ride, really.
Yeah. And then you have 2 separate days.
I'd go for anything to get people a ride, yeah. It's a lot disappointing.
I must admit, I suffered myself this morning. I thought to myself, am I really going to be able to get round there? But it's been good out on the. I ate today anyway, out on the moors. I mean, yesterday I thought it was quite hard. But,
I think they tried hard, you know.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the
Different format, sections were different, you know, not so many queues. You know, pretty good, like.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
And it's obviously get round and see the countryside better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's to be confirmed yet because we haven't actually got back to the presentation. But
I lost 2 yesterday and I'll clean today.
Clean today. Oh, excellent. So
hanging on.
Yeah. So Righty's probably not done it yet then.
Well, we've yet to see. You know, we could come in. You know, strong challenge near the end.
Absolutely. All right then, Dave. Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you tonight at the presentation.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks a lot. Very formal.
127 Jake Ruffield, please. Trophies for the best foreign rider. So friend number 98, Jake Carroy, who gets a special award of a bottle of our own 6-day whisky and a pair of beautiful cut glass tumblers. Mr. Carroy, please. Somebody out a security card to take this man home, please. Very popular award, ladies and gentlemen. When you put your hands together very well for this one, it's the best Scottish rider, number 125, B. Nicol. For For the best newcomer, ladies and gentlemen, the Pitright Trophy, which was one of our old friends, Willie Pitt-Bladone, nominated it for us. And it goes to the best newcomer, number 72, Jay Harlan. The main three awards, ladies and gentlemen, in reverse order. The third class award, number 123, Mick Andrews, a pint tankard. For the second best performance in the trial, the Duncan Smith Trophy, number 157, Kevin Chapman. The main award, ladies and gentlemen, the Scottish 365 Challenge Trophy, awarded for the year to the best performance of the trial, and well deserved, number 137, Dave Thorpe.
Send you a check next year. Thank you very much.